when she starts talking about these notes and in my notes and on my notes and I've got all of these notes. Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Now if this is your first time here, hey, welcome. My name is Dianne and I'm super excited that you found your way here. Now we have finally made it to episode 7 and I am excited about this episode because that means we are one episode closer to episode 8, and when I finally get there I will be all caught up with the rest of y'all, okay? I'm trying to get to where y'all at, so when episode 9 drop, then we can be there together. We can talk and tweet and have all of the conversations together as one, okay? But for now we're gonna get into episode 7, and I'm not gonna lie, episode 6 is going to be a little hard to top, okay? Because, baby, episode 6 was hot. But I'm definitely excited to get into 7 because this one was pretty good. This one was pretty. That damn Peter, baby. You gotta watch. That damn Peter is something else. But I'm excited to get into episode 7, so let's get into it. Damn. So we start this episode off with Phaedra and Parvati, and they're waiting in the Traitors' chambers, is what we're going to call it, right? They're waiting in their chambers to see if Peter is going to accept their invitation to be recruited into the Traitors. Now, at this point, because Parvati, and I'm going to say Parvati because Phaedra was not here for it, but Parvati has made the decision to recruit Peter, so there is no banishment, meaning no one is going home. Okay, like this was a one-shot drop. One-shot drop. We're gonna go with that. Okay, this was a one-shot drop. Okay, one-shot stop. Whatever it is, it was one of them, right? And so they're waiting to see if he has accepted their offer or not, right? So as they're talking, it's a knock on the door, and they hurry up and hide their faces because they think that it's Peter coming in. Baby, the room gets silent. They take their little hoods off and they see that it is Alan, and he lets them know that Peter has declined the offer. And see, here it is, because that was my question. Can you decline if you get an invitation to be recruited, or is it mandatory? And as we see, no, sir. You can say no. And Peter damn sure did it. And so Parvati is looking at Phaedra. Phaedra's looking at Parvati. And Phaedra's like, I told you. And so Parvati is shook. She's shook, and she's realizing that this could in fact tell on her even more. Like this could put her in even hotter water, okay? And she's looking and she's like, breakfast is gonna be awkward. And Phaedra looked that girl right in her face and said, oh, this is going to be your last meal. She told Parvati, this is going to be your last meal. So it just, they don't listen. They don't listen. You were riding Dan so hard because of the bad decision he just made, girl. He just made it yesterday. And now here you are following into his footsteps. You want to be his protege so bad. Well, here you go. So now we're at breakfast, right? And you already know breakfast is where we find out who survived throughout the night. Now we know that because they tried to recruit Peter, there is no banishment. So everyone is coming in, right? And so as all of the people start rolling in, Peter finally walks through the doors, right? And so I don't know if you guys caught this weird, awkward, shady moment, but when Peter walks in, Sandra sticks her arm out to like give him a hug, and he hugs her, right? And then Parvati goes, oh, Peter, and she sticks her arm out, and he kind of just pats her on the back. Did anybody see that? I was like, oh, he don't want no parts of you, girl. He don't even want to hug you. He pat that girl right on her back and was like, yeah. He didn't want no parts of her. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but it stood out to me. Like, I was like, it's hot. So when Peter sits down, he leans over and whispers to John, and he's like, I have something to tell you, but I have to tell you in private, right? And so as he's having that little moment with John, Parvati is watching him like a hawk. And then even at one point, she's making eye contact with him, he's making eye contact with her, and they're having this little eye off. And in my mind, it's almost as if she was confirming, like, yeah, it was me. I sent the invitation and I know you declined. It was weird. It was so weird. Like this eye conversation that they were having with each other. And he was sending eyes to her like, yeah, I know it was you. And I know you sent the invitation. And that's why I declined it. Like, I feel like they were having that conversation with their eyes. It was so weird. As somebody on the outside, like looking in, if I was sitting at the table, I would have read all of that, because why are you staring at him so heavy like that? And it didn't have, I know some of y'all be like, oh, it's just because he's been accusing her of being a traitor. No. At this point, Parvati, I think, was very much so, just like Dianne, in her feelings, because what you mean you declined? Like that, like I said, it's a slap in the face. Like, what you mean you declined? At this point, I don't think she cared. You know I'm a traitor, and I'm about to let you know, like, yeah, you're right. And so what's up? So what were we doing? What's up? And I feel like he was on the same type of time. Like, I know you are, and I know you sent the invitation, and I know you know I declined the invitation. So what's up? What were we doing? What's up? So that was the conversation that I got from the eye contact that they were making. You know, could be digging too deep, but I for sure got all of that at the dinner table. Okay. So at this point, Kevin and Trishelle walk in, and so now everybody is in the room, right? And so that's when the cast starts talking, oh, somebody's been recruited, somebody's been recruited, somebody's been recruited. And of course, Peter decides to say nothing. He's not going to admit that he was the one who was recruited, and he declined. He doesn't say anything. And so with him not saying anything, Parvati is like, oh, hell no. Like, you're not about to slap me in my face and sit here and play in my face. So she's like, Peter, did you get recruited last night? And I'm like, you just gone. Even Phaedra looked at her like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She just came right. So Peter, did you get recruited last night? And again, that's why I feel like the eye contact was the conversation. Like, I feel like they were having an eye conversation. An eye-versation, okay? Like, it was happening. Because she just came right out and was like, so did you get recruited last night? And he was like, we'll see, won't we? And he didn't say anything. Like, he didn't confirm or deny anything. And that further pissed her off, because she was ultimately trying to set him up and set some type of trap for him. And he was just like, the vibe he gave off, the energy he gave off was basically like, baby, I don't fall into the traps. I set them. You can't catch me, okay? So Alan comes in all of his extraness, okay? And he does not confirm or deny anything that happened last night. He tells them, you guys are smart. You know what happened. You know what happened. So talk amongst yourselves, and I'll see y'all later when we get into today's mission, right? So after Alan leaves, Peter gets his alliance, you know, the 5-person alliance, what they call it, the most faithful of the faithful, gets those 5, gets them together, and he tells them that he got the invitation last night to be recruited from the Traitors. And when he said this, and it was a quick moment, like the camera panned to John real quick, right? And John was like, after Peter says that he declined the offer to be recruited into the Traitors, John makes a face and goes, and then he goes right back to normal. But you can see that he had a moment where he was like, that don't sound, you know what I'm saying? Like, the math wasn't mathing for John in that moment. But, you know, he decides to, I guess, let go of that and still trust in Peter. But in that moment, he had a moment. He had a moment where he was like, you sure you declined, you know? And so Peter decides, okay, now that we're all here, and we've gotten that out the way, I promise y'all I declined. I'm 100% faithful. You don't have to worry about it. I'm not over there with them. But we need to stay focused on Parvati, okay? We got Dan. Dan's out the way. Next on the list is Parvati. He's pushing it. Parvati, 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 Parvati. You have to stay focused on Parvati. She's 100% a traitor, and we got to get her out of here, right? Trishelle decides to take this opportunity and say, yeah, that's okay, but let's have a conversation about Phaedra. Right? And so she starts pushing this narrative about Phaedra being a traitor, and how Dan offered her up before he left, and how she's just been noticing different things about Phaedra since Dan said what he said. Now here's pause. Usually I don't go out of order, but I'm gonna go out of order right now, okay? Later on, when she starts talking about these notes, and in my notes, and on my notes, and I've got all of these notes. Before she starts talking about all of these notes, how come she didn't bring up Phaedra before in the conversations? Since you have this whole list of notes against her, and the list is longer, according to you, the list of Phaedra's notes are longer than the list of Parvati's notes. This is what you said. Phaedra's list is longer. So if her list was longer, why are you just now bringing her up now? Why didn't you bring her up before? Why were you so poverty, Dan, poverty, Dan, poverty, Dan, poverty, Dan, poverty? Now all of a sudden is, yeah, and you know, my notes on Phaedra are way longer than my notes on Parvati. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying, lying. So in trying to get the group to shift from Parvati for this week and go to Phaedra, she makes a statement that since Dan is gone, Parvati really doesn't have anyone. You know what I'm saying? She's like the lone wolf in the house. However, Phaedra has pretty much everyone on her side because her social game is top tier, okay? So she pretty much has everyone on her side. Now, I'm not a hater. Trishelle is absolutely right. But you know, be quiet. But she is absolutely right. Phaedra has the majority of the house ready to like ride for her because her social game, like I said, is top tier. And so Trishelle is just trying to point that out. So as they're having this conversation, Phaedra tries to come into the room, right? And so when she comes into the room, they're like, oh, can you give us a second? Can you give us a second? Can you give us a second? And they tell her to leave, right? And so she's pissed and she goes into the room with the remainders or the leftovers. What do they call the leftovers? The rest of them. She goes into the room with them and she's like, yeah, they just told me to get out because they needed to have a moment and I couldn't be in there. And so MJ is like, oh, hold my beer. I'll be right back. Because what you mean we can't come in here because they want to be alone? I'll be right. I bet you I'll go in there. I bet you I go in there. So MJ walks into the room and they're like, oh, can you give us a minute? Can you give us a minute? And MJ was like, a minute for what? Privacy for what? What do you need privacy for? And so Kevin is like, Bergie was like, you're gonna love our plan, you're gonna love our plan. And Peter was like, shh, be quiet. And I'm just sitting there like, y'all really gonna have that exchange in front of her face? Like, and so MJ is like, well, I don't want to be excluded from the plans. Like, if you guys are planning, I want to be involved in the plans. And Peter is like, yeah, no. Like, we'll tell you later, but for now, just let us talk about it. I have never seen such boldness, because baby, you would have had to push me out of that room. Like, you are telling me that the five of you are in here plotting and you're telling me I can't be in here? In these types of games, anybody would assume, like, just because of the level of paranoia that starts to take over after a while, right? Anyone would assume that if I'm not included in the plan, then the plan is probably about me. Now, granted, the plan had nothing to do with MJ, but if she started to think that, she wouldn't be wrong in her thinking that or her feeling like that or paranoia. Like, she wouldn't be wrong in that, because how you just gonna tell the girl to get out? Like, y'all, everyone who comes in here, y'all tell them to get out because y'all need a minute. And that, for me, lets me know, we gotta break this up. We gotta break this up. Because if can't nobody come in here and have a conversation with y'all and y'all gonna tell everybody to get out, cool. We're gonna go ahead and chop this up. I don't give a damn. I'll take the risk of sending home some faithfuls, but y'all got to go. This got to go. Because I'm not in it. I'm going to break up this alliance solely based on the fact that I'm not in it. Now, privacy on that. So this is the moment where we get Sandra's pool table moment, right? And honestly, strategically, it's brilliant. If she didn't have two traitors in the room with her. However, let's get rid of that, right? To break up that 5-person alliance, this works. This works because she gets to chop that down, right? This has nothing to do with the traitors. It's not going to help you guys find the traitors, but it will break up that little alliance in there. I'm trying to tell you, my girl, she was working it out, okay? She like, we got these 5 over here, then we got us over here. If we take them 2 out, or they try to take this 2 out, and blah, 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 blah. 2 + 2 was equaling 4. The only problem is 2 of those 2 were traitors who were in your group. So, you know, for the purposes of the game, it does not work. Now, for the purposes of breaking up that alliance, bingo Yahtzee, y'all did it. Well, in this conversation, they all agreed to band together and vote out Peter. So for the 5-person alliance, it's a toss-up between Parvati and Phaedra, right? And in the leftovers, they've all decided we're getting Peter out of here. Peter's gotta go. So now it's time for us to get into today's mission. And if you haven't realized by now, one of my favorite parts of the episodes are the missions. I love when they go on the missions, okay? So today's mission is them running through the woods. Yet again, now I'm about tired of the woods, okay? Come up with something else. Get a little bit more creative. But running through the woods yet again, and this time they're doing it in pairs, right? And so before they even take off, they have to decide who's going to carry how much amount of money, right? And so like one of the money bags was $500, one was $1,000, one was $5,000, just all of the bags equaling to $25,000. That's how much you and your partner are going to carry, right? One bag for each pair. And so how they go through this mission is running through the woods. They're going to come to a question, right? And at that question, it's like a fork in the road. So you can either go left or you can go right. You read the question, one answer takes you this way and another answer takes you this way. As you pick whichever you think is correct, you're going to run in that direction. You're going to come across a scroll. You're going to open the scroll. And if you're correct, then that means you've chosen the right path. If you're incorrect, then you're in a trap and you're stuck, right? And so you cannot continue to go on. And so only one person can read the scroll at a time. So let's say if it's me and you, right? And we pick an answer and we take a direction, okay? If you decide to pick up the scroll and we got it right, then cool, we going the right way, we can carry on to the next question. If we get it wrong, then you are in the trap because you decided to pick up the scroll and read the question, and that's how it goes. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you and your partner make it to the finish line so that your money counts. Even if one of you make it to the finish line, then yeah, your money still counts, but one of you at least have to make it. Now, if both of you get trapped, then however much money you're carrying is gone from the pot, okay? So if you are the person that's carrying a $10,000 bag and both of you and your partner, if we both get caught up in a trap, then that's it, friend. Like 10,000 is deducted from the 25,000 to go into the pot, and it's our fault. So the first pair to make it to the finish line, both of them will get the safety shield. So both of them will be safe from the traitors. Now that I know how it works, not necessarily the round table banishment, but they will be safe from the traitors. Now, this mission was hilarious, okay? And I have to thank Sheree and I have to thank Phaedra because, baby, when I say they had me in here cracking up, I was in here cracking up, okay? So the mission starts. And the first team to get something wrong is Peter and Trishelle. And Peter is the one to pick up the scroll to see if they got the answer correct or not. But as he even goes to the scroll, he's immersed in like this swamp, mud, nasty, oily, I don't know. It was not good, okay? It was not good. So then we get the camera put on Bergie and Sheree, and Bergie goes into the same exact trap, and he gets his wrong, and Sheree is like, oh, hell no. She said, hell no. She was not prepared. And see, this is what I meant when I was talking about in my first impressions video. This is what I was talking about when I said, baby, you are not in Atlanta as a housewife anymore. You are competing, and it's going to get nasty and it's going to get ugly. And she had me in here hollering, okay? And so the camera pans to CT and Phaedra because they were paired up, okay? I think I popped on the CT and Phaedra bandwagon. I think I might be on that ship, okay? I might be on that ship just a little bit. So they're together and they get their answer wrong, and CT is the one who goes and grabs the scroll, and so he gets sucked up into this huge trap, and Phaedra, the terror in Phaedra's face, realizing, oh my gosh. I think it was in this moment that she was like, baby, what did I sign up for? Is it worth it? Like, what did I sign up for? Because the horror in her eyes was just hilarious, okay? And then she's talking about how she's afraid because now she has to go through the woods by herself. And she was like, this is my biggest fear. I don't want to have to go through here alone. Baby, get the money and start walking, okay? Welcome to the Traitors. So then the camera goes back to Sheree, and now because her partner has gotten caught up in a trap, she's on a solo journey. And so she gets her answer wrong, and she gets over there to pick up the scroll, and she gets swept up, and she's like, help! Her screaming help has to be the funniest thing that I have seen on TV in a long time. Like, the girls were not prepared, okay? The girls were prepared for the backstabbing. They were prepared for the manipulation. They were not prepared for the traps in the woods. That took this thing to a whole other level. She was not prepared. So then we get the camera on Phaedra, and she's going through the mission by herself. She comes to the scroll, she opens it up, she gets swept up, and she's screaming, and she said, okay, now y'all gonna have to get me up out of here now. Y'all gonna have to get me down now. Like, she real calm, but she said, y'all gonna have to get me up out of here. This is not what I signed up for now. Come on now. Get the footage. Get what you need for the show. But come on, get me up out of here. So now, at this point in the game, everybody is out except for Parvati and John and Sandra and Kevin. And Parvati and John are communicating and talking, and like they're doing really well as a team. And so are Kevin and Sandra, right? So Parvati and John are carrying the $7,000, and then Kevin and Sandra, they're carrying the $1,000. Out of $25,000, there's only $8,000 in play. They only have a shot at $8,000 and safety for one of the teams, okay? So they come to the last question, both of them get it right. So now it's just a matter of who can make it to the finish line first, right? So we get to the end and we find out that Sandra and Kevin, they're the team that got to the top first. So the people that we, the audience, the people in this episode that we're really watching and we're trying to see like what happens with them are Peter and Parvati, right? We're watching everybody else too, but like the focus is the storyline between Peter and Parvati. And so the fact that neither one of them got safety, like, let the chips fall where they're made, right? It's open season. Kevin and Sandra are the ones who completed the mission first. They are the ones who get the safety shield. So they are safe from the traitors. So Alan reveals to the group that he has a surprise for them later, right? And so I'm like, okay. So back at the castle, Parvati, Phaedra, and Kate are having a conversation, and basically Parvati and Phaedra are pushing the agenda to get Peter out of the house. Like they're trying to convince Kate that it's a good idea. Kate is like, oh, no problem. Kate's like, I really don't care. As long as it's not, I don't care. If it's not me, whatever. You guys want Peter? We'll do Peter. It doesn't matter, right? And so at this point, CT catches on to this whole we got to get Peter out of here situation. CT goes and has a conversation with Peter, and he lets him know, like, your name is on the chopping block. People are talking about getting you up out of here. And so Peter has this shocked look on his face, like, that's something that I didn't know. I wasn't expecting that. And so that conversation lit a fire under him, a weird fire under him, to go and have a conversation with Parvati and Phaedra, right? And so he decides that he wants to call a truce between him and Parvati, and he wants to work with them. He's like, so how would you guys feel like us working together, right? And so Phaedra already has like a itch in her throat, because why are you calling me in here with Parvati? That's the last person I want to be attached to. And this conversation right here makes me feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to go ahead and go. And I'm so glad. I am so glad that she was in there long enough to hear the deal, but quick enough to get out of there to not commit to the deal, right? That's where you want to be. You want to be in there to hear it, but not in there long enough to have to agree to it. And so I was so happy she got up out of there, right? Get the information and go. Get the information and go. And so when she leaves, Parvati and Peter are having this intense conversation, and you know, Parvati is like, cool, this is an opportunity for me to push the agenda that I trusted Dan, and that was wrong, and my back was up against the wall, and blah, 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 and Dan. And so as she's talking, Peter is on some, she might not be lying. Maybe I've been doing the wrong thing. And I'm like, you about to let this lady talk you about it? What you know? Like, you know, and you're about to let her talk you up out of this thing, child. So anyway, so now that they've had this conversation and Peter decides he's feeling comfortable with Parvati, he decides to throw Phaedra's name out there. Like, yeah, you know, people have been saying this and they think she's a traitor and she has all these people on her side. Now, one thing for sure, two things for certain. Parvati don't care about nobody but Parvati. And so if it means that she gets to throw Phaedra under the bus so she can survive another day, then that's exactly what she's going to do. And so since Peter is on this Phaedra, get her up out of here bandwagon, Parvati is like, pack my bags and put me on the wagon too. I'm gonna go right along with y'all. So Parvati and Peter decides to call a truce on whatever they got going on, just long enough to get Phaedra out of the house, right? Once Phaedra is gone, then whatever happens next happens next. But they at least gonna work together to get Phaedra out of the house. Baby. So at this point, Alan has told everybody to meet him in the woods, right? So everyone gets dressed and they meet him in the woods. And so this is the surprise that Alan was talking about he had for them. And so I think they called it a sacrificial ceremony. Maybe I'm making that up in my head. I don't know. I hope not. But I think if I am, we're just going to roll with it. But I think they called it a sacrificial ceremony. So basically, this is a situation where everyone gets to take a turn saving somebody else. And they're saving them from being banished by the traitors. So there's no round table tonight. There's no round table. The group is not going to send anybody home. That's not happening tonight. They cut that out, right? In this moment, you'll be able to save people from being available to the traitors. Now, the last 5 that are standing, those are the 5 that the traitors will have an opportunity to be able to choose from, which is crazy because, you know, the block is hot for Peter right now, right? And so if Peter gets saved, then that throws a wrench in Parvati's plans, right? Because at this point, Parvati and Phaedra want Peter out of the house. So if he's safe, then it's like, what do we do? Because Peter is 100% coming after the 2 of them, right? And so they got to get him up out of here. So because Kevin and Sandra got the safety shields, they're already safe from worrying about the traitors for today, right? And so they get first pick. And so Alan gives them the torch and they get to go and, you know, put the torch on somebody else, and then it's torch until we get to the final 5. And so they come together and they have a conversation because they are the only ones actually who have to come together and pick someone as a team, right? And so as this is happening, MJ is having this monologue, right? Slowly playing in the background because she says she's really, really close to Sandra. Like she's really, really close to Sandra. And so she has no doubt in her mind that Sandra is going to pick her and that, you know, this is a no-brainer. Sandra's going to come straight to me. Sandra goes to Sheree. Sandra goes to Sheree and MJ is just kind of like, well, damn, like, you know, and so her feelings are hurt and she's really sad about that. But, you know, she chose Sheree. So then now it's Sheree's turn and she gets to light someone else's torch and she goes and she gives it to Phaedra. And Phaedra gets really, really emotional in this moment. And, you know, she was just talking about how Sheree saving her based on everything that they've been through and the history that they have together as, you know, being on the Housewives of Atlanta, that it just brought it full circle for her. And she got really emotional. And it was a really, 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 really good moment. And I'm so glad that Sheree decided to save her because it said a lot, especially with everything that happened on their show. Everything that happened on their show, it said a lot, right? And so I was so glad that Sheree saved Phaedra. So now it's time for Phaedra to save somebody. And Parvati is like, well, I'm a traitor and she's my traitor buddy. So obviously she's going to come and save me. Phaedra said, I'm going to my man. Phaedra said, I don't know nothing about you, ma'am. I'm going to my man, okay? And so she went and she lit CT's torch. And of course, this pissed Parvati off because she like, what you mean? How you not gonna save me and protect me? Now, we didn't get an explanation from Phaedra as to why she saved CT and why she didn't save Parvati. We didn't get that. But common sense would say, this is a ceremony to save you from the traitors. You are a traitor. Why do I need to come and save you from you? Like, what am I doing? For what? Come and save you for what? Right? And so Parvati's in her feelings and she's like, oh, she didn't come and save me, so I don't think I can trust her anymore because she's moving like this and it's just weird and I don't think I can trust her. You can't trust her because she didn't save you from you? Like, it's only 2 of you. It's you and it's Phaedra. Why would she come and light your torch to save you from you? It makes no sense. I'm not going to come and save you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to stand here in front of these people knowing that you're public enemy number 1 and light your torch to show some type of weird solidarity with you. No, I don't want to be attached to you at all. So no, I don't think anyone was expecting her to like Parvati's choice. I wasn't. Were you? Did you? Comment below if you did, because I didn't see that happening, right? And so now it's CT's turn. And CT has a decision to make. He's become really close with John. He says he trusts John in the game and how he's playing the game and what he's doing. And then he's like, but he also has Trishelle over here. And him and Trishelle have a history, and that's been his friend for X amount of years. And so it's like, do I go with loyalty or do I go with friendship? So CT says, you know, this game is not about friendship. It's not about friendship. It's about loyalty, and I have to do what I have to do to make it through the game. And so he takes his fire and he goes and lights John's torch. And this sent Trishelle over the moon. It sent her over the moon because, baby, she probably would have spent her last dollar in her bank account to say that CT was going to save her that night. And when he did not, oh, baby, she was not here for it, okay? So now it's time for John to save somebody. And, you know, Trishelle is pleading her case. And, you know, I've had a hard time here. And I just want to make sure that I'm safe. And hold on. Because I cannot believe I left this out. Let's rewind and go back to Phaedra, okay? When it's Phaedra's turn to light somebody's torch, did y'all hear Trishelle talking about, I think you should save me because I've had a hard time, and you know, it's really been rough for me being here, and I think I deserve to be saved, and Baby, aren't you the same one going around saying that this woman is a traitor and you want her out? And you have the audacity to ask her to save you? Girl. The audacity is here. The audacity is way up here. Because, girl, I know you know that you know that you know that you know that you know. No, ma'am. We're not doing that. We are not doing it. I thought that was hilarious that she thought that was going to fly. Ma'am, no. John's turn to save somebody. And, of course, he saves his boy, Peter. So now that Peter is safe and he is off the table, it's slim pickings for the traitors like Phaedra and Parvati. What are you gonna do? Because he was public enemy number one. Like, sending him home was like top priority. Good morning, how you doing? We sending Peter home today. It was top priority, right? And so now that he's off the table, it's like, well, who do you pick? At this point, the remaining 5 are Parvati, Trishelle, Bergie, MJ, and Kate. So those are the 5 that the traitors get to choose from tonight when they go and have their little conversation of who they want to send home, right? And so, funny enough, when Peter was pleading his case before John picked him, right? When he was pleading his case, Sandra makes a statement and says, listening to how he was speaking and listening to how he was pleading to be able to stay, she said that she is now convinced that Peter is 100% a faithful. And that kind of changes things up, because today everyone was saying we have to get rid of Peter, we have to get rid of Peter, we have to get rid of Peter, right? And so now that she's having a shift in her thoughts, you know, what are we doing, Sandra? Where are we going? Who's next on the list? So Trishelle walks in, and the vibe between her and CT is just very weird and awkward and uncomfortable. She's obviously hurt, obviously in her feelings, you know, because of their history. She expected him to save her, and you know, she was just saying stuff like she thought that they were turning a new leaf with each other, and she looks at him like her brother in this game, and so she was really hurt that he didn't think enough to save her, right? Parvati is being weird and colder than usual towards Phaedra because she's in her feelings because Phaedra didn't save her. And MJ is just hurt across the board. Like, across the board. She's just like, I can't believe none of y'all thought of me. Like, she's just, her feelings are hurt across the board. And so now it is bedtime for the faithfuls and plotting time for the traitors. So Phaedra and Parvati, they meet up, and before they even start talking about who they're going to send home of the 5 that were left over, Phaedra tells Parvati, you need to get it together, okay? Stop acting like an ice princess. Stop acting so cold. Stop being so mean, girl. Like, really get your act together, okay? And then she tells Parvati that Parvati is always making this face. And I don't know how to do it, because I haven't been around Parvati, but she says her face is like, she said you do this face and you'd be like, I know I'm doing it 100% wrong, but Phaedra had it down. She basically tells Parvati, fix your attitude and fix your face, because neither are working for you. So fix your attitude and fix your face, right? So then they start talking about who to send home out of the final 5. And it seems to me that Trishelle is at the top of the list, right? That's what I got from the way that they were talking. But of course we don't know, because that's how they end the episode. They end the episode with, okay, I hope we made the right choice. What is the choice, right? What is the choice? And so we have to wait until the next episode to find out who they decided to send home. That is the end of episode 7. We can go to episode 8 and I will be all caught up with the rest of y'all. I am so excited. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you liked this video, make sure you like this video. As always, share the video. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody else to come and watch it. Make sure you have subscribed to my channel. Those of you who have already subscribed, I love you guys so much, and thank you for the love and support. Yes, turn those notifications on, because again, these videos are coming out and they coming in hot, okay? So turn notifications on so you don't miss it, right? I love you guys with the love of the Lord, and until episode 8, until episode 8, I'm out.